Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jennifer. I am so excited to have you here today. We're going to talk about the story that's been breaking all over. I heard this as I was going to bed last night around midnight in Germany, and there wasn't much out yet in the way of press releases and news stories, but waking up today, we're all going to be bombarded with this. King Charles, Queen Camilla, they finally hosted Harry and Meghan and the two alleged invisible children for a private family meeting July 10th, 2026. Now, the meeting happened at Highgrove House. That's the king's private country estate located in Gloucestershire, okay? There's been a few videos circulating around on social media. This one is from Facebook. I don't know if it's real or not, but it was still too juicy not to show you guys. This is supposedly Harry and Meghan driving onto the estate to meet the king privately. I don't see any kids in that car. Maybe they're so small that you can't see the tops of their heads, but why wouldn't you at least see the top of Archie's head? But whatever. Watch this. And we all know that this was the first meeting with the king in 4 years. The king had not seen these kids in 4 years. Archie's now 7 and the daughter Lily is now 5. The last time supposedly that he saw them was during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations for Her Late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and that was in June 2022. Now, what do we know? Well, all the ragmags are reporting, and Buckingham Palace did officially confirm that the get-together was a private family occasion, and per the king's wishes, and I wholeheartedly agree with this, no cameras were permitted, no media cameras at all, and any photographs or video footage would not be released to the public. Everything was to be kept strictly private, and I applaud that. I believe, as we'll get into a little bit later in the video, that these were the king's stipulations. He had it. We've all been exposed to this media circus that Harry and Meghan and their PR Sussex machine have been pumping out for a month. It's been ridiculous, okay? So yes, looking at it from a private family point of view, okay, this is a good thing, you guys. I know we're all we've had it up to here with Harry and Meghan, but this is actually a good thing as long as it's done in private, okay? It's a significant step towards healing this rift between Charles and Harry and, allows him to see these grandkids. We all know that William was going to be omitted from this meeting. I said weeks ago there was no way that William was going to be involved in any way, shape, or form with this meeting. Remember a couple videos back, I was playing Rob Shooter's. He was saying, William will be present at the meeting because he's so scared that Charles is going to give in to all of Harry's demands and blah, blah. I was like, please. I like Rob Shooter. He seems like a fun guy, but when he put that out, I was like, really? Are you freaking kidding me? No way. No way. So this is a good thing in that it was all done privately. Great. Kudos to the king. And you know what? The king has the leverage at this point to draw that line in the sand and say private only. And I'm so glad that he did. I am all for reconciliation behind closed doors privately. I've talked about this on my channel ad nauseum, and I don't know how many videos. If the king wants to reconcile and Harry wants to reconcile, great. Do it privately. But, everyone, including myself, were just upset because we know that Harry and Meghan were going to try to do everything they could to monetize a reconciliation. So I'm glad that it was all done behind closed doors in a respectful, dignified manner. That is great. But what I wanted to talk about in this video a little bit are two things. One is what should have happened regarding this private meeting between Harry's family and the king. What should have happened. And then also I want to talk just a little bit about what should happen regarding Harry and some of these stories that have been coming out about him in exclusives by Charlotte Griffith in the Daily Mail regarding some of his disgusting and predatory behavior. We'll talk about that. But as far as this meeting, this is what should have happened from the very beginning. For the last month, Harry and Meghan and their disgusting PR machine have been putting out article after article. For what purpose? To keep them in the news cycle and to keep their demands and their narrative front and center. I've made videos about this. We all know that Harry was doing this on purpose in order to manipulate the king. He wants his security, which he didn't get, but he wanted it. He was coming over. He was going to host a couple of events. He had an Invictus event. He had a well child thing. He also knew that his court case decision was going to be handed down. And Harry had 14 of his own claims against A&L, Associated Newspaper Limited. There were 90-something in all for all the claimants. I have a whole video on it. But Harry's individual claims against A&L totaled 14. And we all know that even if Harry would have won on one or two of those claims, he would have lauded it and paraded all around London as if it was a sweeping victory. He would have tried to have used it to manipulate his father and to make his father feel bad. Like, see, I've been vindicated. I want some of my demands met. I want security because, hey, here you go. This is what the court has said, that, this has been illegal information gathering. I'm at risk, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what happened here. What happened, you guys? It turned out to be private because Harry has zero leverage now. What's the timeline how all this unfolded? Again, for a month leading up to this trip, we had relentless leaks from Harry and Meghan's team, and they had all these demands. They wanted police protection, I'm sure, but this whole strategy of theirs dissolved completely when the judge completely dismissed all of those claims. And because of that, Harry lost public and media leverage. And not only that, it was a staggering financial blow to him. All these claimants, they have to pay these legal fees now. Everyone's speculating it's up to 50 million pounds, which is 67 million US dollars. And this is public facing humiliation for Harry. This is a huge legal bill, okay? Even if you were to break it up between the claimants, and who knows how much Harry's going to be personally liable for, how much his insurance is going to kick in. I talk about all that in my video talking about the case, but you've got all of these staggering legal bills, and now you've got the reality of this security denial, okay? The Home Office denied his requests for police protection during this visit. So now what's happening? He has to go to his father with his tail between his legs, essentially. But this is what he should have done from the onset. He should have done everything privately. He should not have demanded, like a petulant brat, automatic police protection and all this, which he's been denied in the past, but he thinks that by a case-by-case basis, he can just come over here and like he's ordering off a menu and he can demand of the Home Office and make these manipulative press leaks to emotionally blackmail his father into somehow petition the Home Office to get him what he wants. King's already said, I have no bearing in any of these decisions. So now we have Harry in a state of public humiliation and defeat. He has to abandon his laundry list of stipulations, and him and Meghan have now realized that they have no other recourse. They have nothing else to do than to go and see the king privately. And if they would have opted for this course of action from the very beginning, the public wouldn't be so upset with them. If Harry had never carried on with this court case, the media wouldn't be so upset with him. But now he's got the media completely vindicated, writing all these articles, including everything that Charlotte Griffith, who's been involved in the case, everything she has to say about it in this aftermath. He's got a high court judge probably very upset with him. Because of what he's done, Harry has basically accused the judge of hindering justice, whitewashing everything, and just falling down automatically on the side of the papers because he's biased. I mean, Harry has no understanding of how the real world works. It's just if things don't go his way, he's going to stomp his foot and he's going to accuse and point the finger of everyone of having it out for him. So they have no other recourse than to put the ego aside and go see the king privately. But this is what should have happened in the very, very beginning. That's what should have happened. It didn't happen. He had to try to manipulate the press and manipulate his father in the month leading up to this meeting because he thought that he was going to come and wave his fists around and get what he wanted. But he lost the case. He's pissed off the judge. He pissed off the king because he didn't accept the invitation to Buckingham Palace in time. and then they have to withdraw the offer. You know, they have schedules, they have staff, they have things to do to prepare lodgings for a number of guests. What does Harry think's going on? Does he think that this is the Holiday Inn or something? This is a palace. This is a working palace with working staff and schedules and things that have to be planned. This gives you a glimpse into the mind of these two, how utterly selfish they are. It's so unbelievable. So again, it's a good thing that they are meeting privately behind closed doors, but this is what should have happened from the very beginning. Is Harry going to learn anything from this? I don't think so. I don't think so, but at least he still has a lifeline in his father in that who knows what's being discussed behind those closed doors. I'm sure, don't think for 1 second that the subject of Harry's legal bill in this case hasn't come up. I don't know if the king will reprimand his son and say something to the effect of, why did you emotionally manipulate me like this for a month? Why did you release that atrocious statement admonishing the judge in a public forum, calling into question the integrity of the court system in public as a member of the royal family? Are you insane? Why would you do that? Who knows if Charles is going to put his foot down in that regard? Honestly, I doubt it. I'm sure he's just happy enough to be in the same room with his grandchildren that they're probably not discussing sensitive topics because the king has tact. Okay, and the king does have emotional intelligence enough not to do that and not to bring it up and make the situation uncomfortable. Do I think Harry's bringing up his wants, his needs, his pleas to the king? Absolutely. Do I think that Meghan standing on the sideline with her Cheshire cat grin, taking it all in and surveying the landscape to see what she can do in the future to manipulate future situations? Absolutely. But I just think that the king needs to tread with caution. But if he is still a Christian, because who knows, considering now that he's the defender of all faiths, but I do applaud the king in the sense that he is still welcoming Harry and his family, but doing it respectfully behind closed doors. Great. Mend those fences, but he has to keep an eye on these two. He has to keep an eye on these two, and he cannot move forward and have any public perception of weakness because the UK, and let's call it what it is, the US public is watching this meeting with very close scrutiny, and some would say regarding it with suspicion, because we know that Harry and Meghan are out for Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are master manipulators, and they will do anything they can to try to leverage the situation for their own ends. Let's see what happens. Let's see how many details of this meeting actually become leaked. Because we all know that the king and Buckingham Palace have said that nothing is going to be coming out of this meeting that is going to be released to the public. Are Harry and Meghan going to respect that? Are they going to adhere to those terms? Who knows? Are we going to probably hear something about it in a future interview or press release? Probably. So just be on the lookout for that one. So let's not all get too crazed and upset about the fact that they met, because just the fact that it was kept behind closed doors is a good thing, because that's what should be happening, because this is not clickbait. This shouldn't be internet fodder. It should be something that is dignified between a family in a discreet manner, okay? But let me just tell you, if stuff does start leaking out from the Sussex camp, if Harry thinks that the backlash from this lost court case and the backlash from the fact that he's been pestering the Home Office and moaning and whining for years about the security thing, if he doesn't think that that's enough to bury his public reputation, he's going to be in for a really rude and crude awakening if him and his wife start leaking details from that meeting. It's going to be a whole new level, let me tell you. And just quickly, you guys, before I sign off today, because I know you're busy and we all have lives, this whole thing that Charlotte Griffith was talking about in the Daily Mail article from a few days ago about the fact that Harry placed a small white pill on her tongue, he basically put it on her tongue and just said something to the effect of, "Oh, now I know I can trust you." And she said in the article that she believed it to be paracetamol. And she says that she did not ingest the pill. She folded it into a napkin and she was just characterizing it as this surreal moment and Harry acting like a joker and all this kind of stuff. Okay, for those who don't know, Paracetamol in the UK is the same as acetaminophen in the US. It's acetaminophen is the generic for the brand medication named Tylenol, but that's what it is. So she's being really generous and gracious here, in my opinion, thinking or writing, I should say, that is paracetamol. I don't think in the moment that she thought it was Tylenol. Let's put it that way. And my husband, who doesn't care about any of this stuff, who thinks that I'm a complete psycho for making all these videos about the royal family. Well, I'm kidding. He doesn't think I'm a psycho, but he knows I'm really invested in royal news, and rightly so. I've loved the royal family forever. But anyway, I read that to my husband and he just looked at me. Okay. His face, he was like, really? We all know what that pill was, don't we? And him and I both said it at the same time. We're like, yep. Okay. I have to say, allegedly, that's our opinion, but that was the very first thing we both said. We're like, yeah, we all know what that pill was. Okay. That is, it's so disgustingly dirty. You guys, that behavior is so predatory. I cannot believe that after that incident, Charlotte Griffith even continued to speak to him. That's how disgusting that is. And when you think about it, for everything that Harry supposedly stands for now at this point in his life, he's always barking on about family, about mental health, about safeguarding women. He's a so-called proclaimed feminist now that he's married to Meghan, right? He's always wearing these shirts about girl dad and all this stuff. So he's a champion of women just like his wife is, you know. They're just pillars of humility and charity and compassion and all this kind of stuff. He needs to release something. We all know they love to release statements through their PR machines. With this story out, he has a responsibility to himself, to his wife, and to his family to release a statement saying that, yes, I did that, and no, I am not proud of it, and it was 100% wrong, and here's why. He owes Charlotte, and he owes the public a huge apology for that. There is no way on God's green that anyone with two clues to rub together would read that story and think that Harry is the type of person that anyone should be taking any type of advice from. He shouldn't be involved with the Invictus Games. He shouldn't be involved with children's charities like Well Child. He shouldn't be out talking about being a girl dad and, you know, rights for women and compassion for people and all this stuff that him and Meghan go on and on and on about. Ugh, I'm getting so fired up. Okay, let me just back up a little bit. He shouldn't be involved in those types of things or preaching to the masses how people should live unless he releases a statement and an apology to Charlotte. And also he should include in that statement an apology to his wife and his daughter. How dare you treat a woman like this? How dare you, Harry? And then you try to be such this paragon of virtue. It's absolutely despicable, and it's the height of hypocrisy. But something tells me that he's going to be radio silent on this. Radio silent. He loves to accuse. He loves to point the finger at everyone. He loves to bark at everyone and point out how everyone else has wronged him. But yet, do you think that we're going to get something from him? I don't think we are. I would love to stand corrected. I would love to say, hey, you know what? Harry did indeed end up releasing a statement, apologizing for this behavior, apologizing to the public, apologizing to all the women in his life. That would be great. Are we going to see it? I would love to see it. But are we going to see something like that? Probably not. I would love to see it, but probably not. Yeah, so talking about what should have happened regarding this whole meeting with the king, it should have been handled the way it eventually was handled, privately, without fanfare or hoopla behind closed doors. That's what should have happened. But of course, Harry and Meghan have to learn everything the hard way. And then what should happen is, like I said, an apology, a statement, something from this man who has been so vocal for practically a decade about how everyone mistreated his wife, about how everyone mistreated him, about how everyone's mistreated his family. Because don't forget, what he basically said in that BBC interview last year was that the establishment, essentially, he was making these statements in a veiled type of way. Some would argue not so veiled, but he's basically said that the establishment wants me dead, and that's exemplified in the fact that they won't give me the security that I require. So he can go out and do all that and say all that, but not say anything about this. Let's see what he does, you guys. Let's see what he does. Were you as disgusted as I was hearing that white pill story from Charlotte Griffith? I tell you, my stomach, I just had the most queasy, disgusting feeling. And there's a lot of people out here who have always said that they feel that there's something really wrong with Harry, that he is predatory. The stuff he wrote about in Spare, the seeming lack of just integrity and like no filter in the way that he's conducted himself over the years. And then to hear a story like this, I just think that there's so much that the palace covered up for him over the years. And there's so many things that we will never, ever hear about. And Charlotte Griffith has actually hinted in her Daily Mail article that there are things that she's choosing at this time to not reveal. Who knows if she ever will, but I definitely think that that is just a tiny little finger pointed back at Harry, as if to say, back off, buddy, back off, because people know things about you. And again, so many of us wouldn't be so angry right now at Harry and Meghan if they weren't such hypocrites, if they weren't constantly going out admonishing everybody else and telling everyone else how to live their lives. It's so contradictory, and frankly, it's pretty disgusting. We just need to watch the news cycle in the next couple of weeks and find out exactly how Harry and Meghan are going to conduct themselves. Personally, I think there's at least a really good 57.85% shot that we're going to have some leaks about this meeting, because Harry doesn't really care what other people want. I'm sure that the king, again, made some terms very, very clear what he would tolerate regarding this private meeting with Meghan and the kids on July 10th, what he expected. But do you think Harry's going to respect that? Do you think Harry's going to adhere to his father's terms? I don't think he will. I think we'll eventually hear about this meeting, and all that's going to do is further anger the palace. But you know what? It's going to really, really upset William. William kept his distance, and William is probably getting out his little notebook and itemizing every single thing that Harry is doing so that he can remind himself, here's another reason why my brother can't be trusted. Here's another reason why I have to keep him far away from my family and the institution when I'm crowned. I do hope and pray one day that William and Harry do reconcile, but it has to be done in private, and it has to be done away from the media spotlight and away from any way that Harry and Meghan can manipulate and monetize the situation. I do think personally that William is too upset right now. Maybe when he grows older, his heart will soften, and depending on, how desperate Harry gets, especially if Meghan is no longer in the picture, I think that Harry might do what he needs to do to at least be financially taken care of once he is away from Meghan. That's my personal opinion. However, I don't think that Meghan is going to leave Harry or divorce him until she gets her windfall of a payment. And in California, that has to be at least 10 years of marriage. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this down below. Or what did you think about the reunion with the King and Queen Camilla at his private estate? And were you as disgusted as I was reading what Charlotte Griffith wrote about Harry placing a pill on her tongue? If I was Charlotte, I would have saved that pill and I would have taken it to a lab to be tested. Who knows? Maybe she did that. I would love to find out exactly what that pill was. But I think for so many of us out here who have eyes, ears, and a brain, we can pretty much figure out for ourselves what that pill was. Am I right? Okay, guys, thanks for spending this time with me. And like, share, and hype the video if you can. Subscribe if you haven't. I looked at my analytics right before I went to record this, and 68% of all my viewers that watch and come back aren't subscribed. So literally, it costs nothing. Help me out. I just reached 30K. Help me get to 40K. Thanks, guys, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.